That's right. Welcome in, welcome back, folks, to a kind of a philosophical discussion is the angle we're going to take it early. Although everybody in the comments, every time I try and ease into a Saturday night, anytime I try and ease into a week with a lighter Monday topic, you guys aren't having it, man. You are the most diehard of the diehard. We're talking serious football stuff in the chat. It doesn't matter the day. I love you guys. Like Saturday night, I just love the angle. Like, you guys are thinking of all the stuff I think about. So I had a lighter philosophical topic, but some of the things you guys are talking about in the chat, we're just going to get into. Happy to be here. Happy to have you here. Happy Monday. Here's something I want an opinion from the group on. Saturday night, I introduced a new live stream introduction. The minute that I have to wait for the streaming system to transfer over to YouTube. If you do it right away, there's going to be a lag. That's why everybody who streams on YouTube has that introduction that's like a half minute or a minute to give the systems time to overlap. Listen, I realized the one I did for Saturday night has a lot of energy and me making funny noises and all that. I didn't know if everybody wants to start their morning with me making weird noises and yelling and all that. Somebody put in the chat or call me. Should I stick with the energetic one all the time or do the music one just in the mornings to lighten it up? I realized maybe people don't want to wake up and I'm yelling at them is the first thing. But I don't know. Some people like the weird noises, and that's why you like me, is all the unpredictable whatever. But let me know, because I didn't know what to do. I erred on the side of caution today on a Monday without having to make people hear me yell. Obviously, you can find the program on YouTube. Do hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps me as well. Notifications on. That way you're alerted every time a new episode drops. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish Rat. Always Irish Shake. Emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want me. You can get me to call in line 312-988-15. You tell Johnny, oh, you've heard and seen Fighting Irish Wire. Go every day. Read it. Michael. He says, John, what happened to the hip hop intro music you used to have? YouTube over the years has gotten more and more strict about what beats you could use with copyrights and licensing, and it got complicated. There used to be some obvious rules you could follow with time, how many seconds you could use a beat that somebody else had or whatever, and they own the rights to. YouTube's gotten super strict with all of that stuff. And so I avoid using any of those popular beats to songs, or whatever. I don't want to mess with any of those issues with copyright infringement or the licenses. It's getting very, very complicated. The record labels and the artists all don't want their stuff, whatever. Anyway, so I avoid all of that. That's why you don't hear a lot of those beats or the songs you used to know. It's a changing world. You got to get with the times, right? All right. First things first, we're going to get into okay, everybody, Pat's here. Pat's here. He's not suspended. He ain't on sabbatical. He's not drying out at rehab. Pat's here. All right. There was conspiracy theories, Pat. They were asking if I suspended you. They were asking if you got kicked out, if you were in trouble. People care, Pat. People care. They kept asking about you, buddy. And I kept telling everybody last week, no, he's fine. Trust me, he's fine. He's traveling for work. Give the guy a break. Oh, man. Really special thank you to everybody who showed up to Saturday night's live stream. I got to say this, by far, my favorite thing about having this brand and having it gain a little more reach over the last couple of years, it's you guys. It's the people. I am not exaggerating when I say many of my closest real life friends now, I met from this show and Twitter. The circle's growing, and it's absolutely great. So thank you guys. Thank you for that very much. I appreciate it. All All right, here's one thing I want to throw out in the ether. And that could be for this whole week or whatever you want to do. 312-988-15. I want to know what new names will become known entities for Notre Dame in 23. So that could be young guys breaking out. That could be older guys that like we're kind of aware of really busting out to where you know what's going on and that they turn into dudes. I would love to know what you guys think. Who are you looking at? Like a young guy, I imagine Greathouse is going to come up because he might be needed early. That might be a name. I don't know who else. Patello, is it finally his time to emerge and be a guy that's like, when you know that name, but like, does he become a dude that you rely on? And every week you're hearing his name. I want to know. Anybody else, maybe a little further down the list? Like, does somebody like Christian Gray have to play this year? I don't know. Any of the linebackers that we already aren't like top of mind? Let me know what you guys think. There you go. Taj Murphy, Greathouse, Payne, Flores. Yeah, I mean, everything I've understood is that of those early enrollee wide receivers, Greathouse is by far the most like plug and play ready, and Flores and James are not quite at that level. That's what I've been reading and hearing from the people who know how to look at that kind of stuff better than I do. So I don't know what to make of that. Depth could be an issue. And the other thing is, I want to mention this. Like, we bring up, this group, that group, this and that. I mean, there's still certain spots on this roster where if you have an injury or two, you're not in a good spot again. Like, that's all a part of what Freeman's working on with trying to reshape this roster, is to avoid those kind of circumstances. All right, I'm going to read some of the chats, see what super chats we got, and then we'll go to the phone lines. We got a couple calls. Oh, let's see. Cousin Luke, always here with the negativity first thing on a Monday. Let's see what we got today. John, is the problems on defense due to ND players not having any heart, or would you say that that's all they have, but when we go against other teams, the lack of talent is then always exposed? You know what I'm going to say to that. I'm always as fair as I could be in every situation. It's probably a little of both. I'm not going to say the guys don't have the heart, but I'm going to say, listen, something just felt a little off with the defense. Even last year, I just didn't feel like it was a smooth sailing ship the way I'm used to it being more often. I am not saying that defense was terrible. I just didn't feel like it was quite up to the level that we were used to expecting a Notre Dame defense to be last year. You saw some things that you're not used to seeing from a Notre Dame defense the last few years. And examples of that would be big gash plays, big chunk plays. You know what else happened a bunch of times last year that was upsetting to see? And I don't know if this is random or why this happened, but it happened a lot of times in my mind. Notre Dame would put together really good drive, go down the field, put up points, and the defense would go out there and give up like a quick strike drive by the other team right after we scored to either take the lead, build more of a lead, whatever it was. Way too many times last year, the defense went right back out there, and then the other team went right down the field. Also, the red zone defense, second to last in America in allowing touchdowns once a team gets in the red zone. That is absolutely baffling to me in every way. Like, it's absolutely astounding to me how, even with the warts that defense had last year, with the talent that was there, I'm absolutely appalled that everything fell apart that much in the red zone. I don't know if that tells you it's more structural with the defense, like what you're calling. I don't know, because it doesn't line up to the talent Notre Dame had. Even when I say that defense didn't seem as airtight as I'm used to it being the last few years, that red zone stat is appalling. We didn't get off off the field and third down enough. That upsets me. Listen, if you improve in both of those areas, even just a little bit, your defense is going to be better. And then I keep going back to this offseason. If this Notre Dame offense takes a step forward in the way that we're hoping they will and can, that helps the defense right away without them even getting off the bench. If we are eating up more time on the clock and scoring more points, the margin of error for that defense gets bigger. That could come into play this year. Let's see what Mark with glasses says. Good coaching overcomes talent disparity. Like Lou Holtz used to say, he'd rather have a slow guy go in the right direction than a fast guy go in the wrong way. So Al Golden got to earn his keep. Listen, I put a short video out on this a month ago or something. And it's the year of the Als. I need Al Washington to show his guys. I need a little more there. And I need Al Golden to tighten it all up. Like there, I understand if you want to say it's year one, everybody's learning what's going on. Everything is new. We're all learning each other. We're all learning what plays, whatever. Fine. But I need the areas I just went over and complained about to tighten up. I really do. So it is the year of the Als. That was the video I put out. And I need both of those guys to, I need to see some clear trajectory upwards from both of these guys this year. It's going to be important. T-Rex, good to see you here. Great scheme, discipline, just enough talent and execution over high-end talent. Navy has 3 of the 4 and consistently give much more talented team fits. And he can have all 4. It can be done. All right. Follow me here. Scheme, discipline, just enough talent, and execution. I'm going to add a 5th element to your pillars here. Attitude, mentality, like scheme, discipline, talent, execution. Yep. All important. Attitude. Where are we at in our minds when you let Marshall punk you at home? Where are we at in our Notre Dame minds in that locker room when you have a beautiful night game against Stanford at home in front of your people and you don't do nothing all night and you roll over for a team that was already dead and a head coach that was already checked out? What are you doing? Like, that's where I got worried. And I'm asking, where are you at mentally in this locker room that you are in a position that those things were allowed to even be conceived in practicality? That's where I start wondering, where's your mind at? Getting up for big games is one thing. I mean, where are you at on Marshall and Stan? Like, where's the leadership? Where's the leadership? Like, I could say whatever I want about Freeman, and I want him to whatever. Where's the player leadership going? This is unacceptable. We're not doing this. That's a question I have. That's something. That's one of the things why I want to have Goolsby on the show as a former captain and ask, where are you at in that moment? What is the captain's role in that moment when you're losing to Stanford at halftime at home to say, this ain't how it's going to be. Not tonight. Not tonight. But I'm telling you, that was worse than Marshall. At least Marshall's where Buckner got hurt, and it was a big nightmare in the moment. Stanford's way worse to me. That team was dead, and David Shaw and his smirk, you could look at the guy and tell he was checked out. That guy was done with Stanford. And they came in there and beat you. Give him a little going away present. Him and that little smile he has. Like he's the smartest guy in every room. Well, he was the smartest guy in the Notre Dame room that night. So that mentality of like, where are we at with the leadership? I need that to be a part of all this too. Your leaders regulating what goes on and making sure you're getting what you need to get emotionally out of these guys. And it isn't all going to be the same. I am not so ignorant to human emotion that I am going to say the Notre Dame players need to be as energized to play Ohio State at home as Stanford or Marshall. These are humans. You can't manufacture things that aren't real to that extent to get all foaming at the mouth, ready to go against Stanford compared to Clemson or Ohio State or something. I get that. But you need to know, you need to be able to get to the level you need to get the job done. And you need to know where that level is, both in terms of physical play, execution, and mentality. Now, on the flip side of that, what got into the Team Clemson night? Like, if we're going to go down this, I've also seen it on the other side, evidenced in that Clemson game where, the energy was good. The energy was up. The defense was crisp. We were making big plays. The running game was working. We were shutting them down. Like, that night, everything I wanted seemed to be there. So I'm hoping maybe as we're into year 2, this could get all tightened up a little bit and just look a little bit more put together. That's my hope. Do you have the players to make that a reality? We're going to find out. We are going to find out. It's not the X's and the O's, but the Jimmies and the Joes that make a difference. I think it's mostly the Jimmies and Joes. And then once you have enough good Jimmies and Joes, putting the X's and O's in the right position that it makes the Jimmies and Joes play their best, or it highlights what they all do their best. I mean, there's a blend on all of this stuff. You got to have the Jimmies and Joes, and then you got to know what systems to put them in to showcase them the best. So it's a little of both there, but I need both these Als. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I need both these Als to put it together, or Al be having a stroke every week. So get it together, Als. Both of you are on my radar. I need big things this year. I need you to hold up your end of the deal while this offense gets more exciting. It would be the most Notre Dame-y thing in the entire world of my existence for the Notre Dame offense to get much better and the defense to get much worse. And it all balances out to be right about where we've been the last handful of years, but for a totally opposite reason. I hate it, hate it, hate it 100%. It would be the most Notre Dame thing that could possibly happen. The offense gets finally where we want it, and the defense steps back, and it's a wash overall. Like, it can't be, man. It just can't be. Al Golden, Mark with glasses again. Al, we got some phone calls coming up. Al Golden blitzes alone are mind-boggling, and his inability to create pressure on a QB is maddening. Everything seemed, Mark with glasses, it's not your glasses. You don't need to clean them. You're seeing things right. Here's what it felt like to me. 95% of those blitzes that were called last year, something was off. Something was off. Either the timing was off, who they were asking to try and get home was the wrong choice, where they decided, and situationally, like on the field and in the game and with the clock, like situationally, it was a little off. The timing was a little off. I felt like I didn't feel like any of their blitzes were like free flowing or like worked the way they wanted. If there was something off, and I'm not good enough at the X's and O's to know what, but it was like a half second late getting home, or it felt like an awkward time to take such a big risk, and it burned us for a big chunk played on the field. And so I don't know what happened with those, but it was a failure. Whatever the plan was with blitz packages last year did not work. Now you have a year of film. I need that all to be revisited. What blitzes are we running? Who are we asking to do what? What is the situation we're asking them to do it in? I need you to redo all that because it was not good enough. It was not freaking good enough. I need you to redo that. I need you to look at that because something wasn't right. Same thing with that red zone, second to last in the country and allowing red zone touchdowns. Man, I'm asking for this defensive improvement. it might not take that much to improve. If you could just get off the field on third down a little more and make a bunch of those touchdowns you gave up in the red zone 3-pointers, you're a lot better right away. So, but there are major tweaks that need to be made here. I need the Owls. They should have been in a room all winter looking at this film, looking at the personnel in the spring, finding different guys that could be blitz specialists, whatever you want to do, mixing and matching different packages and personnel when you're setting up blitzes. All of this stuff needed to be looked at. And I expect it to look better this year or you're out of here. You're out of here. Al Golden, whatever, you're out of here, dude. I don't have no loyalty to Al Golden. My favorite part of Al Golden is when we beat the hell out of him when he was coaching Miami at Soldier Field. Coincidentally, Pat was with me for that one too, and there was a lot of Miller Lights drank that night. I could promise you that. We were at Soldier Field, so it's a pro field. They allow beer sales. We had ourselves a night that night. I'm going to tell you that right now. We had ourselves a night. That was a fun night in Chicago for sure. So I don't know, but those blitzes, something was always off. It was a half second late to get home. Like it was just always something off. Paul Conley with the $5 holler. I really appreciate that. All of these donations go into funding the phone line, funding the software, whatever. It's not like this is all Johnny Andrew Tate and I'm buying Lamborghinis here, okay? It all goes back in to keep the show going, and I appreciate it very much. Oh, man. Mark again. At least if Al starts shitting the bed again, we have a pretty good D coordinator already on the staff. MF might have to pull up his sleeves. Let's just hope it doesn't come to that. Al Golden's seen a lot of football. I'm very open to the idea that year one was very much we think this is what's going to work. Let's run it out there and see what's going on. Like that's a year one thing is like nobody knows exactly what you have and how this is all going to go. You put together your best plan and run with it that year. Fine. I'm open to that. But now you have a calibration year. I talk about the calibrations Freeman has to make year one to year two going into year three. And I spoke about year one, you're going off feel and it's a whirlwind. You're doing the best you can off your gut instinct, how you want to do things year one. Now's the calibration. You got to fix what didn't work, upgrade what wasn't good enough. That's the time to do it is now. This is that calibration year. And then we all know, we all talk about year three. Historically, what it means for Notre Dame coaches is a big deal. It also, in this instance, coincides with the new playoff era. It is very important for Notre Dame to get right and be trending up after this year. This is the ultimate calibration year. And you know what? I think Freeman understands that because look at the calibration going on in the roster. Over half. This is not a very Notre Dame-y thing for me to say, but it's a modern era college football thing to say. Over half of the 2021 Notre Dame recruiting class is no longer at Notre Dame. And that sounds not Notre Dame-y, but it is modern college football-y. And it's a changing world. This roster's changing. That calibration's going on. And that's good. We got to see how it turns out on the field, though. Got to see how it turns out on the field. Same goes for Parker. His ass got demoted before from play calling. So if he starts sucking, demote him real quick and let the Italian take over. We ain't got time for learning on the job. Who's he talking about? Gaduli? Is he talking about Gaduli? The one I have a hard time saying. We got the Googly Emmy complex and then the Gaduli, and they're separate. That'll get you mixed up in your mind. Here, I got a Parker thought. Tell me if you guys think I'm off base or what, if I'm crazy for this reason. I know I'm crazy generally, but I mean for this specifically. A part of me thinks what could happen here, the most realistic path here is what Sam Hartman can do opening up this offense with some of the improved skill talent and a running game and O-line we expect to be pretty good. I believe that's going to help Parker look better at this than he probably is early on. And some of it's what they're going to put together and the packages. But if Hartman's healthy, what he's capable of doing for this offense it's the tide that raises all offensive ships. And I got a feeling that's going to make him kind of look good early on and maybe build some momentum. And I think that would be a good thing for everybody. It'd mean the Notre Dame offense is trending up. And it would mean we're not going to have to address this question of what is Parker doing? Why doesn't this offense click? I mean, I know the blue and gold's blue and gold, and that's not a perfect thing. But after watching Sam Hartman run the offense with half the offense and having it look that smooth, does anybody really have major doubts that offense is going to be totally clunky and not run at all? I don't think that's going to happen unless Hartman goes down, and then it's a free-for-all again like last year. So I think that is a very realistic outcome for Parker, and it would help him ease right in. Where that would come to bite Parker is, what are you going to do next year when you don't have Hartman anymore? Then you might have to prove it more with your scheme and what you set up if you don't have a guy that's skilled at passing. So you may end up in a situation where the bigger test on Parker is actually next year, not this year, because I think Sam Hartman and what he could do and his experience may mask some inefficiencies in that offense this year, if that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. Paul Conley, ND, needs big improvements in 23. Red zone offense and defense. There you go. Turnovers and downfield passing. Keep up with special teams. Hey, don't make me go on a special teams rant. I was devastated when we lost our guy. And I put out an episode and I was emotional about it. And I was mad that the most consistent, high-level, game-changing, playmaking group on our team last year lost their coach. And I was very adamant that I was very upset about that. And I got a bunch of messages from people mocking me, laughing at me, telling me that that video was cringe. And why don't you cry more? It's only special teams. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. I can't believe you did a 12-minute video on a Sunday morning crying and yelling about special team. That's fine. But you and I all know those are the exact same people that are going to be complaining here if there's a special teams mistake or if they drop back to being average or way below average, what I like to call, the Mendoza line, it's the Polian line. So if we go back to the Polian line of being bad every week, sorry, it was a big deal to me. You got to tell me how I'm going to flip it on you. You got to tell me why it's not a big deal that the most consistent unit we had last year no longer has their coach. Tell me. They were the most consistent group we had every week as far as making high-level football game-winning plays, game-changing plays. It won the offense, and it won the defense. It was that group. So if you want to give me a hard time for being upset about that, fine. But I love and respect good special teams. It is a sign of your overall philosophy and discipline and attention to detail in your team. Special teams is a representation of that. Discipline, knowing where to be, being in your spot, getting home, whatever it is, knowing your responsibilities, all that. So yeah, I was upset that changed. Give me a hard time all you want. I'm still mad about it. I don't care. Cousin Lukey, here again. John, I believe the Wolfpack game is going to determine how Hartman's season goes, especially after what they did to him last year. I don't think Hartman's a guy where if he struggles a little bit against NC State that he's going to go in the tank and it's going to ruin the year. I don't. I did read his stat line, not a good game against them last year, whatever. Here's the deal with that game. I'm already, let's look at it this way. I was laying in bed at like 2 a.m, not able to sleep, and this was rolling through my brain. Okay. This is how messed up my Notre Dame brain is. Follow me here. When I look at Notre Dame football leading into Ohio State next year, everything from now until kickoff of Ohio State, I have two main priorities that fall way above anything else. Anything else. Between this moment now I'm speaking with you and kickoff of Ohio State, I need a couple things. One, I need Sam Hartman to stay healthy. No exceptions, no nothing, okay? That's number one. I need that guy healthy. Here's number two. You got to be undefeated. You 100% have to be undefeated going into Ohio State in order for all of this to mean what we want it to mean, in order for that game to be what it should be for both teams and the buildup and what it would mean if Notre Dame won it and all that. For all of that to play out, Sam Hartman has to be healthy, and you got to be undefeated when Ohio State comes to town. Now, Navy, Tennessee State, Central, possibly even the always Irish next tailgate, Central Michigan, just throwing that out there. I think you should be able to handle those. Then again, you should be able to handle Marshall and Stanford. So that's how that went. But NC State's the one that could be tricky, honestly, should be tricky. Little away game, little trip there, tough little feisty team. Like that could be tricky. Here's the thing. You did win it. Do I want you to look good? Yes. Do I want you to score 42 and give up 21? Yes, that's what I want. The number one priority is get to Ohio State undefeated. Like I am in the moment, I'm going to complain if NC State looks rough because that's what fans do. But ultimately, when I back up here, the ultimate priority is you got to have all wins. You got to have all wins. You can't go into Ohio State with a loss. It's going to kill what that moment is number one. And number two is if you lost to Ohio State, now you have two losses. We're not even halfway through the year. You're on track for 8-4 all over again, and nobody's here for that. Ain't nobody here for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Like, no, ain't nobody got time for that. Absolutely freaking not. Can't be. That's the other risk. If you have one loss, you don't win that one. Now you're down 2. We're not even halfway through the year. That's a bad track. So for all those reasons, you got to be undefeated. So that has me saying, in the moment, if it looks rough against NC State, we're going to be frustrated. Getting out of there with a win is what's most important. Kelly got good at grinding out some of these ugly games where you feel like Notre Dame should win by more and it's frustrating and we hate the game as an awful watch and then we win by 6 points and then I complain about it and then we move on the next week, but it's a win and it doesn't ruin your year. Even Kelly got pretty good at winning most of those towards the end of his career. So I don't need the most style points on that one. I don't. Mikey Poles, good morning, John. Love me and always Irish Call-In show on a Monday morning to get the juices flowing. Mikey, I'm telling you, man, you're my bodyguard for the tailgate for Central Michigan. Nick Dean at work today, so I'll be in and out. Can't wait to see what we got this year. Worried about how many guys are going pro at the end of the year. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Oh, cousin Luke Hartman had 6 turnovers in the third quarter in that game. So maybe play Angeli in the third quarter this year. Did he really have 6 turnovers? What happened? Did it all go bad on Wake? Oh, man. 314, you should be able to call. Go for it. I love that, Paul. I don't know if I remember you calling yet, but you donate every day, and I appreciate it. I'd love to give you the time. Domer Guy 88, here we go again. Painting the house. Great. I like his message every time. No more red takeovers. Everybody's so obsessed with Ohio State already. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Andrew Gilmore, really good call on the Saturday night show. Very well thought out. 2 position groups that will make or break our season. Wide receiver group on offense and the defensive backfield. Wide receivers have 0 proven Zero proven talent, and they may rely on freshmen. The DB depth is so thin. Again, nobody wants to hear it, you guys. No one wants to hear it, and I don't want to say it. There was way more roster churn that had to happen than anybody wanted after Kelly left to get this where it needs to be. And Freeman's acknowledging that. Freeman's actions are showing you that he's acknowledging that. There was even the gap I knew existed. It's bigger than that. I went into last year saying this roster is severely flawed, and you're going to find out, and it's going to make us mad, and it happened. But it's a bigger gap than I wanted it to be, and probably Freeman, and that's why you're seeing what feels like instability now because of all that flipping. All that flipping, Phil. Good morning, Phil. Thank you, Phil and the wife, both on the live chat. Appreciate it Saturday night. Xavier Watts and Jaden Mickey are so important to the defense. Can those guys be ready and confident for Ohio State and USC? Yeah. Hey, Watts, use those ball skills you had on offense, and when the ball is in the air, go and get it. And once we get it, boys, that's when Hartman goes down the field and scores, hopefully. Jaden Mickey, yeah, kind of up and down last year when you did see him. You're going to need him. Again, depth is an issue, too. You got a guy or two hurt. Uh-oh. What are you going to do? Oh, look at this, Pat. I know you're watching. How much longer is Patty the Batty suspended for? Free Pat. Look at that, Pat. You got a bunch of guys that don't like you. You got some people going to bat for you, too. That's a good radio guest. Is a guy where half the people love him and half hate him. Oh, Rudy. Good to see you, Rudy. Oh, man. Yep. C. Jones, September 23rd, this all comes into focus. It really does. You're going to find out what you need to know about the trajectory of all of this. And you know what it's going to be? It's going to be a good little referendum on where all this is at. Just as far as the talent, putting it all together, performing in that environment. I will say this. I feel really good about Hartman going into that. Sixth-year guy. I don't think he's going to be rattled. Like, I feel good about it. I do. Andrew Gilmore again, because look, the NC State game will also tell us a lot about the D. Armstrong, the former Virginia quarterback, reunited with his OC. Surprisingly good scrambler. DNs need to stay in their lane and finish. Yeah, I remember Armstrong being up and down. One of the games, I was with Jack Sacco, and it was Virginia, and I think we played them, and I think we got him to turn it over. We had a couple of fumbles returned for touchdowns. It got ugly. I think they had a bad offensive line, and he was back there ducking and dodging, and we were flying at him. It's going to be interesting for sure. Nobody could say that this is like a game that's going to sneak up on anybody. Like most people have it circled as like, that's the big one you need to pay attention to before Ohio State. Good morning to you, Pat. Not you, Pat Cotter. Not you, different Pat. Morning, John. Happy Monday to you and the Always Irish family. Jay Lehman, it's always good to see you, Jay. Here for the first half hour. Glad to have you. Glad to have you, Pat. It's Patty C. People are glad Pat's back. What's wrong with these people? Jeez. Michael Ursone. John, my D2 education didn't include philosophy. I'm telling you, man. I messed up in college. As an elective, I took philosophy for a few semesters. Like, as an elective, I could have taken bowling or golf or anything. Like, I didn't have to take real classwork. But I went out of my way to take some of these philosophy classes. And, like, one semester would be, like, religiosity philosophy, like, proving these arguments, proving the existence or non-existence of God, and debating these points. And then one of them was like ethics, philosophy, ethics in society and all this stuff. Man, it was hard. I was in there with all these people that were clearly smarter than me. And I like philosophy majors, which I don't even know what you do with other than teach or talk on YouTube. And they were all smarter than me. It was very, very hard classes. It made me think, but I'm glad I took them. It made me smarter, made me a better debater, made me a better argumentor. But those classes were not easy, but I'm glad I took them. But man, there was a lot of nerds in there. I didn't have anything in common with any of these dorks. Just sitting there, and they all knew each other because they're philosophy majors. And here comes me walking in there. I think I threw everybody off. They didn't want me in there. Oh, man. Damn, you guys are good. I want to get to the calls, but these chats make so much sense. Andrew Gilmore. Pros. Is your brother happy? Pros and cons to playing Navy week 1. Pro. Takes their offense a few weeks to gel. Also, remember, Coach Ken is out. So they got a new situation going. And you wonder how that's going to develop because Coach Ken is no more. Those two longtime guys that were pains in the ass at Kelly's side a lot. Shaw's out and Coach Ken's out. So that's an interesting dynamic with teams we play every single year. Takes their offense a few weeks to gel. Plus, they may actually try to play a little spread. Con, we always leave with injuries. Man, I was thinking about this last night too. Are you guys in my brain? Because you're thinking about stuff that's on my mind that probably shouldn't be this time of the year. So one thing I like is playing Navy first and just being done with them. Just straight up being done with them. And then you don't have to worry about that goofy Navy prep where if it's in the middle of the year, they'll take little segments of practice out of other game week practices to do a little bit of Navy prep because it's so unique. I like the idea you could just get that out of the way, do your Navy prep, keep it moving, get it out of the way week 1. Yeah, the downside. It isn't only just injuries. I know they're trying to eliminate the chop block, the low block thing the Navy's known for. It isn't just like an actual injury, but teams over time will tell you, the head coaches will tell you, if they got to play Navy and then play another game the next week, there is a unique physical layover to playing Navy because of the way they run. The way they operate, it's a unique physical hangover after you play them. So that old thing is goofy. But Navy, Dublin, probably 9 a.m. start? And then here's the other thing I'm telling you guys. I think I've said this before. Book it now. We're going live the minute after every Notre Dame game ends all year. Like, that's going to be a thing. The minute any of these games end, come here. I'm going live and we're taking your calls all day or night. That's what we're doing, all right? Like, this is growing and you guys seem to enjoy it, and so do I. It's never going to be more popping on the phone lines than 1 minute after Notre Dame wins or loses a game. So book that. And then watch that while you have the other games you want to watch on mute after the Notre Dame game. That's what I want you to do. It's going to be great. I can't wait. Delmar, happy Monday, John, and all of the Always Irish family. It's a great way to start the week with Johnny freaking out, so I don't have to. I appreciate it. I'm telling you, the amount of people that came up to me at the Blue and Gold tailgate and just went, man, you just say what the regular guy's thinking and yelling at home, and you give it a voice, and you don't try and polish it up or anything. You just give it to us. That's just the way it is, man. And I'm never going to change. Crying belly. In my opinion, this is a calibration year, like John says. I'd be more than happy with 7-5. Build some momentum to 24. We'll be starting freshman Minchie, or true freshman Carr, with 2 new tackles. 7-5. Are you out of your mind? Are you the actual Brian Kelly in disguise from the Swamp Lands, putting 7-5 in the Notre Dame ether? 7-5 would be an absolute nightmare disaster on all fronts. All fronts. Pat, $5 holler. Watch bits of the show on Saturday. Looked like it was fun. We had a great time, man. It was a great time. Yeah, Willie B. Hardigan wants more noises. I can always give you more noises. Jay Laban, yell at us. It's just funny that people want me to yell at them for their own entertainment. It's YouTube provides wild angles for entertainment. Mikey Pulse, the make or break for the big three games this year is tackling and stopping drives. ND is notorious for poor tackling and letting teams have long scoring drives at big games. You just can't do it anymore. You can't do it anymore. It's got to end. It's got to end. All right, we're getting to our chats. We're going to do some calls, and we're going to see what is going on. Here we go, Pat. I'm open with the turnover at Navy. They're way down, not ready for that game. The one thing I'm really worried about is they come out with something we're not expecting defensively. I thought of that too. If you're the new head coach at Navy, whatever that guy's name is, that I'm telling you, I have no idea what the guy's name is. I can picture his face, but I couldn't tell you the name. If you really wanted to make a splash and you're the new head coach at Navy, I can't think of a better way to make a splash than running out something Notre Dame is not prepared for at all and see if you could catch them. Now, that's not going to work all game, but if you could jump up on Notre Dame by 2 scores by running some offense where we have no preparation for, that could be an angle there. Do they, one, have the balls to do that? And number 2, do they have the personnel that even allows them to try that? Those are what's on my mind. Trust me, I've thought this all through. I've thought it all through. Eric joining late. I just left the county jail. I'll listen as I drive back to Lansing. The funny part is, a lot of people that don't know Eric or see him every day, they're like, oh, he just left the county jail. What are you getting bailed out after a long weekend? No. Eric's the one putting you in jail, baby. Appreciate it, Eric. Good to see you every day. Every day. I'll tell everybody what I did last week, why I was gone. I thought you said you were at work. I thought you said it was a work trip. Crying belly. Can you believe how terrible BK was? He left Freeman with an annual double-digit win roster. Also, Reese, look at the QB room he left us with. Freeman will need 4 more calibration years at least. I mean, I think some of this is trolling. It's a blend of like what's real and trolling. I'm not going to say BK was terrible. Very, very solid coach overall. Just wasn't going to get Notre Dame over the hump. I'm not going to say he was terrible. He did quit recruiting and trying the last couple of years. I have a problem with that. Left Freeman with an annual double-digit win roster. You're out of your goddamn mind. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. No, that's not true. He did not leave Freeman with a double-digit roster. I disagree with that. It was so flawed. No way. No way. Yeah, that's what it is, Cousin Luke. Pat's wife was pissed. That's why he's not allowed to stay on the show. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't blame Lauren. Got to rein him in. Rein him in. What else? We got Josh Miller. Good to see you, Brian Denbo. Oh, Cousin Luke. What do we got? I predict wins week 1 and 2, but one of those games will be blown wide open in the fourth quarter. ND will be in a dogfight to get a win. We've seen Freeman blow leads over and over again. I mean, I don't want it to be that dramatic. I don't want it to be that dramatic. Okay? I don't. Oh, Dr. John, good to see you. Good to see you. All right. I'll come back to the comments in a minute. We're going to get some calls going. Welcome back, Pat. Good morning.
Hey, Jenny.
What's going on, buddy?
Oh, not so. Actually, it wasn't for work this time. Wednesday, I had to take my girls on a field trip to Brookfield Zoo, and then on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I just got in last night pretty late. I was in Naples with the wife. We did a little couples weekend down there, looking at some investment properties. Everything's too expensive, so we came home.
Yeah, Hey, that's a nice little trip, though. And also,
Oh yeah, it was a good time. We had a blast.
Pat, the other thing is my parents just went through all of that, looking for a place in Florida, like going to different city and figuring out the pricing and how close you want to be to the water and all. My parents did all that. And so if you need anything on that end, they just got done with all that process. But
Yeah.
So Pat, everybody they asked where you were Saturday night. You know, some of the people were glad you weren't there. Other people wanted you to be there. Yeah, they wanted you to be there. I don't know, man. We're talking.
I was at a fine dining establishment in Naples, in Old Naples, Florida.
Yeah, and I don't expect you to follow the show from there for sure. Pat, can I ask you about the Notre Dame defense? I still have anxiety about it. I think what happened is Adam Dowling asked me this the other night. He said, John, do we all just now magically feel good about the defense? Why am I not seeing that talked about as much anymore? I don't think that concern's gone away, but all of the news has been on the offensive side. The excitement of Artman, the news with Buckner, Diggs, Lorenzo Styles, that's all been offensive big news. And you just haven't had that much juice on the defense. It's still top of mind. Aren't there little things they could tidy up? Al Golden, Al Washington, to make this a tighter unit?
Yeah, that's the problem right now with the Als. They have not recruited or performed. Their coaching chops have not shown anything. No, I don't feel good about the defense. And here's the thing: I haven't. I've been called a Freeman defender from the very beginning. I have not been impressed with Marcus Freeman's coaching ability on the defensive side of the ball since he came to Notre Dame. I thought there was regression in his first year. The defense started to come around at the end of the season when he was a defensive coordinator under Kelly. And then the last year, it's still his team. It's still his defense. I wasn't happy with it. And Al Golden, like I said, I'm not the guy who calls for a coach to get fired in his first year. So I wasn't looking for Golden or Washington to get let go last year, but their assistant coaches, they're definitely on the hot seat this year. There definitely has to be improvement in that. If I see one more delayed blitz where the linebacker can't get through the offensive line, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. It's embarrassing. All that screams is Brian Van Gorder. Or John Tenuta.
Yeah,
all that screams to me.
I remember that John Tenuta hire. I was so excited. They were selling John Tenuta as aggressive, and we're going to be making all these plays behind the line of scrimmage. None of them worked ever. We never got home ever.
Nothing.
Ever.
No blitz.
Ever.
I think he's still got blitzes that are trying to run through delayed blitzes that are trying to go. They're still waiting for it. It was awful. It was just a terrible, terrible defense.
All right. Now let me ask you this. When it comes to Marcus individually, I don't know whether this is the reality or not. Do you think there was a situation where Marcus was a year one coach last year at Notre Dame with a million things all dropped on him at once that you got to do and navigate and be good at and take care of and all these different things? Do you think there was a scenario where maybe he divested away from the defense a little bit to do more big picture, all the stuff you got to do year one to get it going? And now he could zoom back into that defensive room more hands-on if he feels he needs to. I don't know if that's realistic or not, but it occurred to me that it could have been a part of last year. I don't know.
No, I do think that was a fact. There's no way you can tell me that Marcus Freeman, being the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, being promoted to the head coach, did not get overwhelmed with the job. There's no way you can say that because there's so much more that comes with it. So he absolutely did, and that's the exact reason why he hired an Al Golden. He kept Tommy Rees because Tommy Rees was established. He hired Al Golden because Al Golden was established and experienced. So that was very easy for him to do that. And he probably did try to focus more on being the what Brian Kelly likes to call himself, the general manager or the CEO,
like the CEO
of the program. Yeah. He tried to be more the CEO. I think he's got to be more in the trenches. Nick Saban could be a CEO because he's because he's been coaching for so long. And it's something Kelly used to say all the time, and I know it's something that Saban says as well. You're not just coaching the players; you're coaching your coaches. And I don't know where Freeman is with that, and I don't know how aggressive he is with coaching his other coaches. Nick Dean and I had a little tit for tat in the chat about some of this stuff, and I do think that Freeman is actively involved. There was many times you could tell that Freeman was yelling at Tommy Reese over the headset. You could just read what he was mouthing.
Do you see what Cousin Luke put? Does Freeman even have a position he works with, or does he just pose for vacation photos? I know you're not on Twitter anymore, but again, over the weekend, I think he was at the Derby, and it was the draft before, and then it was New York before that. He is everywhere.
Oh.
He is everywhere. That did make me laugh because I do see the guy everywhere.
Well, it's finals, right? Is it this week finals or next week is finals at the school? So the spring practice is over, so he's not dealing with the team.
Yeah.
The recruiting is in a dead period right now. I don't think they can be out on the road with the kids. And here's the thing: where's Nick Saban was at the draft. I'm sure Nick Saban's all over the place. Like, Brian Kelly's playing on a golf course somewhere.
Yeah,
so,
but
yeah,
but you know how it is. But
that guy,
works
his ass off. Let him go to the Derby.
But you know how it is, though. I mean, any angle, if somebody wants to go negative on it, they could go negative on it. Like, you should be looking at film should be looking at film in the Goog, not wearing that, drinking that mint julep. You know what I mean? But it did. But
yeah, guy's got 7 kids. He's if he can get some time off, he should take some time off.
Pat,
John, you remember when we went to the Derby for Tony's bachelor party?
One of the worst days of my life. That was an absolute nightmare.
Experiences ever, wasn't it?
It was
awful.
It was not fun. I'm sorry. It was a bachelor party. We rented a bus, had a couple dozen people. It was not fun, bro. It was not fun. It was not fun. It was a nightmare. I did not enjoy it. I really didn't
go back unless I'm in a box.
Yeah, me too. I agree. It was a nightmare. All right, back to the football. Let me ask you this. Maybe
I only got a minute left.
All right. What do you think caused Notre Dame to be second to last in red zone defense, Pat? What could have caused that? Why could we not keep people out of the end zone? That seems wrong to me. That
overcomplication of the defense. Overcomplication of the defense. The kids, it just screams Brian Van Gorder. The defense is too complicated. The kids are thinking too much. They're not reacting. Simplify the defense. I'm not saying go back to what Bob Diaco had.
Yeah.
But Bob Diaco had a very simple. I'm not saying you got to run a 3-4, but Bob Diaco had a very simple defense that was it was a unit of size up front and speed in the back end. It's just read and react. But that's always the success of college football. You cannot bring these NFL defenses in here. These kids are not ready for it yet. Most of these kids are still trying. Like in the NFL, everybody's elite status. Everybody is as good as they can possibly be. In college, you're going to have the best. You can have the very best player in the country at your middle linebacker, and your weak side linebacker could be a freshman on the field for the first time, and he's adjusting to the speed of the game.
Yeah.
You're not going to have. You can't have that kind of disparity and then have that level of complication on top of it. So you got to simplify the defense.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to. And it should be simpler.
Yep. And do that and then get off the field a little better on third downs, figure out some of those blitzes. If you do those 3 things, then the defense has a chance to grow next year and be pretty solid. But both Als, they're under the microscope for sure this year, both Als.
Oh, I think for sure. Yeah, they have to be. Al Washington, from the recruiting perspective, the defensive line didn't play bad last year. I don't know if that's a reflection of Al Washington or not, but from just a recruiting perspective, it's been pitiful. And then Al Golden, the linebackers were atrocious, and just the scheme itself was not good.
Yep. Well, we got to see that calibration I was talking about, and I expect to see some different things this year. All right, Pat, you got to run?
Yeah, I got to go. I got a meeting. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Hey, thanks for popping in, man. See ya.
Always. Love you. Bye.
Later. Oh, good to have Pat back in the mix. Good to have Pat back in the mix. Let's get a couple more chats. We're going to go back to the call. 618 and coming to you in 1 minute. Don't hang up. I got you. Cousin Lukey. Everybody forgets the Navy Cal games last year. Yeah, we won, but those were bad games. We should have lost 2, John. They were bad. I don't know what you want me to tell you. I mean, they were bad. But I guess the question is why? Like, acknowledging that they were rough and ugly is one thing. I'm way more interested in why. It's easy for me to say I am frustrated with what I'm seeing. I think it's a lot harder to ask yourself why it is that way and why we're in that position. You know what I mean? Oh, man. It's It is Al Golden's fault, not Freeman's fault. Ultimately, everything's Freeman's fault. Is it not when you're the head coach? When things go good, the head coach gets the credit. When things go bad, they get the blame. It's just like being president. When the gas prices go up, you're going to blame whoever's sitting there. And when they go down, they're going to get some of the credit for it, regardless of the external circumstances behind the scenes where it doesn't matter who's there or not. Ultimately, it comes back to Freeman no matter what, and the fact that he's a defensive guy. Like, I could argue that I hold the defense to a higher standard, actually, than the offense because our head coach is a defensive expert. That's how he made his bones as a player and a coach. So I don't know. TJ Kreider, good to see you. I think this year we take a massive step forward. Very excited to see it. I think we see more of an animated Freeman on the sideline now that he has all his guys on the staff. You know what, man? I'm glad you bring this up, TJ. I felt personally that I could see Freeman struggling much of last year, trying to figure out how to carry himself. And what I mean by that is, like, when they pan over to the sideline to Notre Dame's head guy, what does that look like most of the time? Now, what's interesting is, you know, Kelly went from purple face, losing it some years, to stoicism, CEO, nothing's affecting me later on. Like, Kelly changed over time, and he had 40 years of experience. And his sideline demeanor changed year to year sometimes. And you never knew where he was coming from or who he wanted to try and be that year. I felt like I could see Freeman struggling through some of that. I saw it in the Fiesta Bowl, the year that he was interim, or the bowl game he was interim. I feel like that is something he is working through, figuring out that level he's comfortable being at and that he thinks gets the vibe across that he wants to send. You may not think that's a big deal, but as somebody as animated as I am, I think of it. If I was the coach, you can't fly off the handle like I do all the time because you can't unregulate the emotions that much by the leader and have it up and down like you can't. So as somebody whose vibe is based on that energy up and down the way I am, I get that. I think Freeman struggled with some of that, and he's trying to find his personality as head coach. And that's not easy when you're learning on the job at Notre Dame, but it's not an excuse to lose games either. Very tough spot. Very tough. Newt Rock Knee. ND lacks fight now. That would be very sad and unfortunate. I thought the team was much more unified under Kelly than Freeman. Now it's just praise and trophies without doing any work. It's gone. Bro. I mean, you could say they were more unified under Kelly, but they didn't win anything. How unified were you? You could be unified and not that great. Like, they could be unified, but we never got over the hump or won. We never won anything at the end of any Kelly year that made me proud or walk around like Notre Dame is something. Never. All right? So you could be as unified as you want. They still didn't win a thing. All right? Praise and trophies without doing any work. I don't know what that means. What do you want them to do? We talk every day about where the team has to get better. I don't know what else we talk about. We just did the first hour of the show saying, if this doesn't get better and this doesn't get better and this doesn't get better, we want to fire these guys. And all these changes have to be made to get things where they want to go. Were you not here? The whole first hour of this show was going over holding people accountable, identifying areas we got to get better at. I don't know what else you want me to do. Sometimes Uncle Luke and Newt Rockney act as if I operate this show saying, we're awesome. This roster's perfect. It's Georgia last year's roster. Like, we're good to go. We're loaded, jacked to the gills with talent everywhere. Freeman makes all the right calls. Everything's rocking and rolling. No changes are needed. We're good to go. Nobody's ever said that. I most definitely have never said that on this show. I like the way Freeman works. I like his work ethic and effort. That's not saying it's perfect or it's good enough or nothing needs to change from last year. Nobody's saying that. I've never said that. Ever. Good morning, Katie Keevers. I can't go through another season of watching Marist run right into a blocker when he blitzes. Katie, just don't do this to me on a Monday morning, Katie. Here's the thing. You notice more when Marist doesn't get on because of that mane. It's the hair. It's there. I almost wanted to tell Marist, cut the hair off. And then at least when I see you get blocked into a wall and get zero penetration, it's not as obvious that it's you right away. At least I got to see a number to know. This way, his hair's all, you know it's him. All you see is a brick wall, a gold helmet hit it, and all that air flying around. It is one of the most lasting images from last year's team was seeing that every week. And you just see the hair flowing and then coming to a halt and flopping down once he hits a blocker and never recovered, never got home. Something was wrong. Something was wrong, Katie. I can't do it again either. It's there. I'm telling you, it's there. It made it seem way worse, seeing that air flopping around. Hate it. How about those sophisticated delay blitzes that worked so well last year? You know, because the young men at ND are so sophisticated. Yeah, I know. I always said that too. When people would use the excuse of like, oh, well, this defense is too hard to learn or whatever, then I'd always go, what's the deal with Notre Dame's high admission standard for all these players? Got to be good grades, smart guys, learn it. And I think some of that's fair, some of that's unfair. You know, it's not just learning it in your mind. There's a physical component as well. 618, I'm coming to you next. Jay Lehman, USC game. The refs didn't call 90% of the holding calls against them. Got to have refs with glasses sometimes. It was... If you ever wanted to, I'm not a football conspiracy theorist, but if you know, some people are convinced like the NBA's rigged or the NFL's rigged, like there's people who really believe that. I am not a football conspiracy theorist in any way. However, it sure did seem like everybody with anything to gain from the TV booth or what the TV network, anybody. It seemed to me like they wanted a Heisman coronation against Notre Dame in LA that night, and nobody was going to stop until it got done. And a part of that's our defense not doing what they needed to do. A part of it's the refs. A part of it was Fowler in the booth. I've never heard a man more excited in my life. Take that any way you want. That guy was very excited in the booth. Okay, settle down. He was giggling all giddy like it was like at a sock hop in 7th grade. The first time he ever slow danced with the girl. I mean, You would have thought this guy, it was inappropriate. It was absolutely inappropriate in every way. It really was. The players seemed like they were thinking too much. Simplify things and let them play fast. I'm telling you, you know what else too? With linebackers, to me, the best linebackers are instinct guys that just had a feel of where to be, where to go, when, how to get the other guys lined up where they need to be, having a feel of what's going on, that intuition. The best linebackers have that intuition to just know what gap to fill or where to be or which way to go. All of that. I thought there was way too much thinking too. And all it takes is just the time it takes to have that thought throws off everything you're trying to do with the timing of the play. That's just the way it is. 618. Good morning on a Monday. What up? Did you fall asleep, 618? I think he did. I could hear him snoring. Is he snoring? I think he fell asleep. This is hilarious. 618. Wake up. It's the ghost of Notre Dame past. Wake up. It's Frank Leahy. Wake up and talk to John. I swear to God, he's sleeping. He's snoring. Listen to him. Wake up. Westbrook, wake up. Listen to this guy. All right, call me back when you wake up. Am I that boring? Dude, that is hilarious. That is hilarious. Like, I want to be offended almost. Like, I'm that boring and I made the guy wait. Now he's sound asleep. That's one of my favorite calls. I got to cut that one up. That one's being used. Oh, my God. That's funny. D-Rock, it's really good to see you here, D-Rock. D-Rock, you're a long-time guy, man. You've been around my show a long time and back on Twitter. A long-time guy. I appreciate the loyalty. Delayed blitzes. Delayed blitzes that occurred 20 yards away from the line of scrimmage. It looked off. Everything just looked a little bit off. Not like, it didn't look off like nobody has any idea at all what's going on, like the John Tenuta defensive iterations or the BVG ones. It didn't look like that. But it just looked like there was a hitch. Whatever they wanted to do was just off enough that the play didn't work. It was the blitz getting home was delayed just enough that quarter second made all the difference between a sack and a 40-yard chunk play. It was always the delayed blitz from 28 yards away that never gets home. And then every team with Little League basics knows, put the ball right where that gap is and that guy blitzing that's never going to get home and there's a big open spot. It ain't rocket science. It ain't. Tighten it up. Tighten it up. Yeah, not good. USC blew out our crappy lines apart, offense and defense. I'm going to be honest with you, Cousin Luke. A lot of things you do are intentionally trollish. I mean, I agree with you on this one, even when I acknowledge fully, and I want to do so. I would like to fully acknowledge the incompetent officiating of that ball game. While I acknowledge that and its impact on the outcome, take that aside. Notre Dame still got bullied on both sides of the ball all night, and I'm not over it. You knew Williams was going to get his. You knew that offense was going to be electric. You knew you were going to slow him down, but not totally stop all of that. You knew the circus stuff that guy could do. We all knew all that. But where was Notre Dame going to balance that ledger out? up front on both sides of the ball. That did not happen. They were more physical than us all night. That was way more upsetting to me than Williams running around and putting up great numbers, because the guy's Heisman guy for a reason. You knew he was going to get some of his. You just had to limit it so he didn't get all of his. They bullied us up front on both sides. That was supposed to be the place where Notre Dame was stronger. We were not. How much of that is physical? How much of that is mentality? I don't know, but it is the number one most upsetting thing that night. More than the refs, more than Fowler, more than the fingernails, more than all of that, was the fact that that was supposed to be the place Notre Dame was better than them, and we weren't, and it wasn't even close. Not even close. Hate it. Hate it. Look at this. Look at this $20 holler on the fender bender. Been listener since the days of audio only. Appreciate you, John. Tell us how you feel today. Here's the other thing, man. I love the fender bender. I got a fender strap myself, and I am just not good at playing it. I have wanted to learn how to play guitar. It's something I've wanted to be good at. I got one, tried to teach myself with YouTube and learn and everything. It just doesn't come naturally to me. The way that I could go in the garage, pick up a golf club and hit a good wedge shot just because I know I could do it. Like, I don't need to practice it. I have an inclination for it. And then if I practice it more, I could dial it in and be more accurate with that wedge or whatever. Hit a 7-yard draw here, a little cut fade here. Like, I could get to that level with practice. Guitar's something I'm just never going to be. I don't have a natural inclination. No matter how many hours I practice, I'm never going to be as good as a guy who has a natural inclination for how those fingers match with your mind to make it all work. I really respect it. I've always wanted to be good at guitar. It's just not going to happen. It ain't in the cards for me. But it's just, I don't know. It's one of those things. But I appreciate you've been here since 2016. And we did audio only. And I remember everybody was like, what does this guy look like? Because I was audio only. Everybody was hearing me yell, but they couldn't see me. So nobody knew whether I was like some big tough guy or like what. And then everybody saw me and they were like, you don't look like the guy that would come out of that voice being, I don't know, what is it? Looking like a skeleton with a beard or what? Oh, man. Newt Rock Knee. Lincoln Riley breaks the game down to 4 basic moves for each player. It's what Lou did and what Urban used to do. Yeah, I think you're talking then about simplifying what you're asking people to do. And then that puts them in a position where they can read and react. And it isn't read and then calculate and react. That's where you have that hitch, is in the middle. Read and react is one thing. Read, calculate, and react, you're too late. And that's how those blitzes don't get home. That's how you don't fill a gap. That's how, you let a guy get around the edge. That's how mistakes are made. That's how mistakes are made. And so less can be more in that regard. And then if you have a couple players who are more advanced and developed, and you feel that they're capable of more, then maybe you could open it up and do different things, or have them do different things, and then have the other guys maintain simpler responsibilities. I don't know. Yeah, I'm telling you, dude, the hair. It's the hair. I can't do it. I can't do it. You just saw the hair run into a wall, flop up and flop down, and then and that was it. I just remember seeing it over and over. I hated it so much. And you know what else is rough about that? Remember, last year, Marist was coming off that injury that cost him the year before. And then I remember last camp, everybody saying, this is awesome. He'll be back. Marist is going to really boost that old group, and they're going to be trending up. He lost a year. He's ready to go. Didn't happen, man. Something was off. It was off. Didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. Yeah, that Miami game was beautiful to watch. It really was. I mean, they were down. Soldier Field was rocking. The weather was nice in October. We beat the hell out of Miami. What's not to like? That was and it saved me a drive all the way to South Bend. I was local, so I was right there. It was a lot easier than being in Illinois and being up near there. It was a lot easier to get to than driving on the toll road. The parking's not as easy, but everything else was. Oh, yeah, there you go. Mike, no way Pat drinks beer. I've got him doing Zimas. God, do you remember that back in the day? Wasn't that like that? Is that one of those fizzy drinks, like one of the first ones? I remember commercials for that when I was really little, like young. Let's face it. Kelly left because the admins turned their back on him. It's as simple as that. Now the admin dropped the ball in Ludwig. Now we have a screaming idiot running around. Who, me? I'm not out there. What are you talking? Who's the screaming idiot? Me? I'd love to be out there screaming and yelling. I'm telling you, Johnny's dream job, what I'm meant to do, Notre Dame hype man. That I'm telling you, that's my purpose on this earth, is to be the Notre Dame football team's hype man. Meaning, I set the vibe. When guys need to get jacked, I get them jacked. When guys need to be brought down, I bring them down. When they need to laugh, I get them to laugh. If I need a certain guy to get into a certain mode and I know what it's going to do, I'll crank him up and wind him up and then let him loose. Leader of the team, I have a different relationship with the leaders of the team. I'm going to put certain things in their heads that only the team leaders can put in the other guys and have it trickle down. I'm gonna get them up. I'm gonna get them down. I know what I'm doing with that. There's a level that you need to be at, and then there's a point where it's too much. Like there are levels to that emotion and regulating it. And when you open up the throttle and all that, like there's a science to that. Lou was a master at that. Okay, for a lot of years, knowing what buttons to push and how much am I cranking that knob up for this guy on this angle? I'm working to get him in the mindset I want. How much? 3/4, 60%, 40%? Where am I? All of those emotional calculations got to be made. All right, here's the deal, though. There is no doubt Kelly and the administration did have a falling out. But my understanding is that it was a two-way falling out. Kelly started getting mad. He wasn't getting a lot of the things he was requesting soon enough. And the administration was requesting things that Kelly didn't exactly want to do either. Mainly like not be a jerk to everybody you work with and actually try and recruit. So I think you had a good old-fashioned stalemate. I genuinely do, and people I talk to feel that way too. A situation where the admin was kind of like, you're not getting what you want. You're not treating people right around here. And Kelly said, the hell with it. I'm not using that jet and spending my weekend flying all over for you then. And then we ended up having a stalemate here, and you got the results you got, and then now there's a breakup. I mean, that's just the way it went. Nick Dean, year 3 didn't mean anything to Kelly. He just sucked. Well, wait a second. Was it year 3, 2012, or am I wrong on that? 10, 11, 12. He had me excited for a while. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like I wasn't excited about the Kelly era when we were ranked number 1 and undefeated in 2012. I was open to the dream becoming reality. And then actual reality hit in the form of Alabama. The irony in that is all of that celebrating that we did the night of the final day of the regular season when K-State lost or whatever and Alabama, and then Notre Dame's number 1. Notre Dame was number one, and I partied and I celebrated, and everybody doing the number one. Nobody could question it. We're undefeated. We are number one. The irony in all that is that sucked. If we weren't number one and dumb Kansas State wins their game, we're playing Kansas State in the championship, not Alabama, because they already had a loss. So the irony in all of this is when we were truly number one and nobody could question it, it ended up burning us more than it being number two. Like, life as a Notre Dame fan in my age group, that's how it is. You would have been better off not being number one and playing K-State. So even when we're number one, it burns us. I can't win. Always Irish Senior. He loves the fender bender. Let's jam. Go Irish. My dad's got basically a recording studio in his basement. All sorts of drum kits everywhere. All sorts of mixers and everything. Guitars all lining the wall. Maybe I'll do a video and show you guys sometime. I'm pretty cool. The other thing Always Irish Senior will do is he's a lot more handy with his hands than I am. He makes the guitars. So he will order certain parts and like an outline and then put it all together himself, design it, do all that. So anybody who wants to jam, come into Always Irish Senior's basement. You have a jam fest, my friend. What is crying belly ab again? Exactly. Calibration year. Reese has left the cupboard bare for Freeman on offense and defense. What? Dude, why are you trolling? This is not serious. It can't be serious. The cupboard is not bare at all. The cupboard's getting refilled on offense. If anything else, I could argue that. So I think you're just trolling me, and you probably have a Louisiana area code. Oh, man. You got me worried about this with special teams. Yeah, the field goal kicker. I don't even want to think about that yet. And field goal kicking to me, it's like golf putting to me, kind of. Where whether you're good or bad, it gets in your mind and it can affect you. I was that way with putting, where I let it affect me too much. If I made a few putts, the hole looked bigger the rest of the day, and I had that confidence it was just going to find a hole. And if I wasn't, it looked like you're putting into a thimble. I admit that I struggle with that. I imagine it's the same with field goal kicking. If you're in a groove, man, them uprights look 50 yards wide. And if you're struggling and it's windy and cold out, you got about a 6-inch gap. I don't know, but you got to make them. You got to make them. Oh, boy. NC State's the owner of Sam Hartman. Maybe the owner of Sam Hartman at Wake. Like, that's the other thing. Everything's different now. I have trouble equally extrapolating what I've seen him do with Wake talent against other teams. Shouldn't he have more raw talent at Notre Dame to help support him and do all this? Shouldn't the offensive line he has at Notre Dame be better than at Wake? Shouldn't the running backs be better? Like, I don't know. I just feel like you're going to have more overall support at Notre Dame. I agree with this. Domer Guy 88. Kelly doesn't suck. He hit his ceiling at ND and he checked out. And it's just time to go. It's time to go. But the recruiting leveled off at a level that stopped us from reaching a certain point. And then the other critique that I always go to, the quarterbacks. I can't handle it. What he did with quarterbacks and didn't do with quarterbacks is a huge part of the reason Notre Dame couldn't get over the hump. And I go over this all the time. All of those guys who started for Kelly, the numbers got worse the longer they stayed. The longer they started at Notre Dame, they got worse, not better. That is the ultimate coaching evaluation, development, roster, negative red flag you could ever have. Is that a quarterback guru, and the longer guys played under him, their statistics got worse. Now, you could say, well, maybe they didn't have as much talent around him the next year if he was a multi-year. Well, that's also on Kelly. That's on him to provide that talent that you don't drop down. All those guys got worse. And that's just a huge red flag. And the other thing is, when we're talking about these quarterbacks, consider this. Notre Dame, towards the end of Kelly, wasn't even in the running for any of the elite high-end quarterbacks in recruiting because Kelly was so many years late to start building relationships with them. When it came time, there was no relationship. Kelly comes in there the last year. Oh, we're Notre Dame. We love you. And those guys are going, yeah, nice to know you, but all these other schools have been loving me for 3 years and letting me know. 2 years and letting me know. Coming to my basketball games to watch, even though it's not the sport they want me to play, so that I know they think I'm important. Kelly wasn't doing any of that. All of that relationship building early on that gets you even in the door with those top quarterbacks, Kelly refused to do it. Refused to do it. That is why Notre Dame wasn't even in the race for any of those guys. That is unacceptable. Notre Dame's coach cannot recruit that way. Awful. Awful. See, that's what I'm saying, Dino. NC State owned him with Wake Forest players. Right. Like, I'm not getting wrapped up in that. A year 6 Hartman on the energy of being the new starter at Notre Dame. I'm hoping he'll have a couple wins under his belt. By the time we get to that game, that guy's not going to freak out or lose his mind. No way. No way. Hartman looked very sharp the last time he played. Louisville, Pitt, NC State. Okay. Trolling me, man. Why are you trolling me? Cousin Luke, if Kelly hit his ceiling, Domer guy, and is a top 5 coach, is it realistic to think ND could ever win a title again? Things got to all go right, all at the right time. I was having this discussion over the weekend. Think about the new dynamic you're in after this year. It's very, very interesting. Maybe that's a good question to ask the group is, in the expanded 12-team playoff era, is it easier or harder for Notre Dame to win a title? You're going to have more access because it's a 12-teamer. Notre Dame won't have to go 12-0, 11-1 to get in. 11-1, they're in for sure. 12-0, duh. 10-2, even I think they're in more years than they're not, if not all years. However, once you get in, then you got Notre Dame's got to what? Win every game for a month in a row against top 10 teams. What are the odds you see Notre Dame doing that, even if Notre Dame's really good? Compared to maybe Notre Dame has a really good year and then they get in a title game and it's just that game. And if you win it, you're champions. You don't have to be better than the other team overall. They might beat you 9 out of 10 times. You just got to get that one and you're a champion and it lives forever and nobody can take it away. What's harder or what's easier? The BCS way, it was way harder to get that shot. But once you're in one good game and you were champions, is that a better, easier path than now, where we're going to have more spins at the wheel, but it's going to be harder to win once you're there? It's going to be a meat grinder for a lot of teams. Your depth is going to be tested. You're going to be playing a month of good physical football. And you got to be physically ready to hold up to that, catch some breaks, and be playing good ball. D-Rock Irish. I like what you did here. Giggly Elo needs to get... The reason this is so funny to me is yesterday I was writing an article for Irish Wire and I wanted to reference Gadoogly. And I'm not going to put in the USA Today Irish Wire the new quarterback coach's name and misspell his name. And so I Googled how to spell Gadoogly's name. And even when I was looking at it, I was having trouble typing it in right in the article I was writing. It's Googliemi and then Gadoogly are like, they're getting jumbled in my mind. And then it comes out like D-Rock said, Gadoogly. Oh my God, that's funny. That is so funny. Real Irish fan, 1988. John, what up? Top of the AM from Compton. What's going on out there, man? Don't let them USC people hold you down. I'm serious. Don't let them do that. Wear your Notre Dame gear out there. Be loud and be proud. Don't let them surfers take it over. Fair weather fans out there in USC, man. Fair weather central. I hate it. Hate it. Andrew Gilmore. May take a few games to get the offense going. Wide receivers may have some growing pains. Relying on a lot of guys with very few catches. May need to rotate. That's a very realistic way of looking at it. Here's what I'll say, though. At least if the offense does take a while to get going, at least you have a build-up of games before Ohio State. You could do some of that and not think that the world is ending and you're going to lose those games. Last year, you had no such luxury. You played Ohio State right away. If you weren't ready, you caught a loss. Your year was kind of screwed right out of the gate. So even if it takes them a while to get it all cranked up, you got to run up a games that you should be able to win anyways. Here's the other part of that. I got news for Notre Dame football, and they're not going to like it. There are no warm-up games in college football. I do not want to hear. I am not open to the concept of the O-line needs a few weeks to gel and they're not good enough the first few weeks. You don't have that luxury. No one in college football has that luxury. It's real games right away. You don't get a month for the O-line to be able to gel and block. You don't get that month. By the time you get to that point, it may not matter because you already ruined your season by losing 2 games. Oh, you could have all the gelling in the world in week 5, but if you already have 2 losses, who cares? Who cares then? So all of this O-line and then we get into the year and I hear, well, it's going to take them a few weeks to gel. No, you don't have a few weeks. This is not the NFL. You don't have that time, especially if you're known that this is one of your main things. You don't have a month. Come ready to play. Newt Rockney. What is ND doing in the transfer portal? There is no way we can compete. It's a problem. I know you're being dramatic because you like seeing me get upset. It's a problem. Nobody's going to tell me it's not. And it isn't the grad transfer part. It's the undergrad part. It's a problem. Notre Dame does not have the ability to go do that to the level these other teams do that we play. It's going to be an issue. How big a one? I don't know. It's definitely a negative. We do not have the flexibility to be able to fix our roster as quickly and as efficiently as these other places. It's a real issue. Pat, I'd be disappointed if you didn't do a 12-minute video on a Sunday morning crying about special teams. Hey, I got made fun of for it. I got a lot of messages saying you're a little crybaby, biatch. I can't believe you're embarrassing yourself being this emotional over special teams. They don't even matter. I'm telling you, you could tell me they don't matter. And I'm going to ask you, what of the 3 units on Notre Dame football last year were the most consistent in terms of making game-winning plays week in, week out? I got news for you. One the offense, one the defense. It was special teams. So, sorry, it's a priority of mine. Nick Dean, I think Freeman yelled at Reese before Reese yelled at Pine. He's involved in both sides of the ball, and Kelly never was. I don't know. There were always rumors about Kelly. Is he too involved? Is he not involved enough? Is he meddling, or should he be more involved? There was always that debate with Kelly of just how many strings he's pulling where. That was always a debate. Always. I think if Hartman is everything we hope he is, that'll take care of the rest. If he puts the ball where it's supposed to be, those guys only need to catch it. That's another thing. You got these young receivers. You got Greathouse. You can have some guys trying to establish and prove themselves. Merriweather, Cole's a year 2. Jade Thomas trying to take another step forward. All of that gets aided so much by just a big arm guy that can put the ball where it needs to be and on time and in the right location with decent offensive line play. This all has a chance to grow and develop fast. It doesn't have to be a slow thing. If you have what you need, you can get it going pretty quick. And I'm open for it. Jay Lehman, thanks, John. We'll have to miss Wednesday. See you here Friday morning. Thanks for being here, Jay. Appreciate it. What a nice guy, Jay, too. On Twitter, too. Really nice. Got a little debate. Gilmore and Pat. Pat, if you watch the Wake film, he does a lot of back shoulder throws, puts some balls up for grabs. The wide receivers had to make plays. I think ND has guys who can, but I wouldn't be surprised if it took a bit. I mean, is that a case where you could have some more route concepts that are less like toss-ups and more hitting a ball in motion on the move? Like, are there different things structurally you could do with the offense to make that easier? I don't know. David Solomon, good to see you here. Longtime guy. The best thing about Artman, in my opinion, will be his ability to get us up over big teams we should beat soundly. I can't wait to be up 21-3 after the first quarter. Finally, backups will get some experience. Like, you would hope that would come with this. If there is more of an offensive efficiency and output week to week, maybe less of my hair fall out. Like, I know the hair's not going to grow back. I'm just saying maybe less will fall out if we're able to get up comfortably on teams and then coast a little bit, up 3 scores. I would love to know what that's like. Unbelievable. John, what if we lose to NC State, but we beat USC, Clemson, and Ohio State? Then you're in the playoff. There ain't going to be that much to yell about other than when the NC State loss happens, because it's going to be before those big 3. So I'm going to be mad as hell, and so are you. That's what would happen. Well, I'm assuming we don't lose any other games. Maybe I'm missing something and there would be another loss. But the way I read this is, if we lost to NC State, everybody's going to lose their minds. But if you beat the other 3, then Notre Dame's in the playoff and you're going to forget all about that dumb game week 3, right? I'd make that deal. I'd make that deal in a heartbeat. I'd give that up to have those wins. I don't know. You guys are going to be shocked at how bad Artman does at ND. Freeman on the hot seat. No. I'm not even going to engage with that one. Just no. Nope. Just totally disagree. Daniel McCarty. So, coach up Angeli and Minchie big time now. Hey, that's the deal. That's the deal. I'm supremely intrigued to know what the backup plan is next year. I am certain they want to do all they can to preserve Minchie's red shirt. So that means 4 or less games he could play in. And then that would make Angeli the backup that you hope you don't need to be the starter. And then he could do mop-up duty. And then you could play Minchie a little bit, maintain those games. That's the path. But if you have a deal like last year happen, it changes a lot because you're going to have to do things you don't want to do timing-wise if your main quarterback gets hurt that early in the year and it's a multi-game deal. I don't know if that changes anything or not. Hope you don't have to deal with it. Hope you don't have to deal with it. That's what I would do. I've got the record anywhere between... Happy Monday, Luke. I don't even know what to say to you. Happy Monday, Luke. I've got the record anywhere between 2 to 7 wins max. Oh, man. I love how loyal you are to the cause. Look at Adam. Having a day job sucks. Adam, I know. You're driving around for work somewhere and you just want to worry about Notre Dame, not work. I get it. Oh, man. Jeez, that's funny. Yeah, I wouldn't be putting any. I had people ask me, I don't bet Notre Dame ever. And it's like, John, wouldn't it make sense to bet Notre Dame because it's the team you know the most about? No, it's exact opposite. I'm too close to Notre Dame to ever bet Notre Dame. Meaning, I know full well, just from emotion, not finances, all the different ways this program can break your heart. And all the games they should win by a lot that they don't. And all the point spreads that should be covered that don't get covered. Like, no, I'm way too close. I don't bet Notre Dame for that reason. No way. Oh, give Pat a break, man. You guys are still going at him. Unbelievable. What are you guys texting me? A bunch of people are texting me. Last time this happened, half the offense transferred. Let's see what's going on. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Pat, same question to you the other way. I want to beat SC as much as the next guy, but OSU is kind of a different kind of elite. This debate's been going on a long time about which of those games would you prefer to win if you could only win one of them. And I always talk about the existentialism between Notre Dame and USC and how big that is to me to have superiority over that dynamic. However, I am not going to argue against somebody who tells me, John, Notre Dame has 4 winnable games to start the year. And then that Ohio State game at home. It means the world to get that game and set the trajectory of the year. That's going to set the tone for everything that comes next. Against Louisville away game, against USC, going to Death Valley against Clemson. So if you wanted to argue me that Ohio State game, I can't disagree with you. It's a big one. It's a big one, okay? I know this is a football chat, but Shrewsbury got 5 commitments last week. I think the days of ND men's basketball being a pushover are through. I did see that on Twitter. I don't know enough about basketball recruiting and how that all works to have a real opinion on it. I'm not going to act like I do, but I did see that. I did see that was going on. Katie, I think he trusted both Golden and Reese to take care of their side of the ball. And he learned his lesson. He needs to be more involved. I feel like there might be something to that. I kind of thought that too at times. And again, when I mentioned calibration, this is exactly what I'm thinking. This is exactly a part of it. When I talk about the calibration that head coach has to make. How involved am I going to be here? How involved do I need to be there? When does it get to a point where I'm uncomfortable enough with what I see that I'm going to call it out? I don't know if this was real or not, but maybe there was a calculation of how much can I push Tommy Reese before he gets mad and tells me to quit meddling with the offense. I don't know, but those are all calculations that guys got to make, all of them. Freeman is the head coach. Can't blame him for poor play. I mean, I get it. Everything's a blend of everything. Everything isn't all one way or all the other. It's a blend. Yeah, at some level, the players have to go make plays. But also, the coaches have to do everything possible to put them in position to. Meaning recruiting the best players that can do the plays, having a system they can understand and execute, making sure their mind is in the right place for these games. All of that comes into play. It's all of it. It's both. It's all of it. $5 holler from Adam. But John, so many defensive experts have told us the linebacker play was good last year. Hear it and see it all the time. I don't know what to tell you. Here's the argument. The argument I've seen made a lot is that you only saw those linebackers when there was a mistake. And I've seen the argument made that 95% of the time they're right where they need to be and they're doing what they need to be, and then you don't notice that. But the 5% where something goes wrong, it's an absolute catastrophe. And then that is what sticks in our minds. Like, I've heard that argument a lot. My pushback on that would be, great if you're where you need to be 95% of the time. When there is a mistake, though, it can't be a backbreaker. Can't be a 50-yard chunk play. Can't be a touchdown over the top of the defense. Like, it can't. It can't be that. So I just was frustrated all year. I didn't feel like they had flow. I felt like they were clunky. I didn't feel like they were getting off blocks smoothly. I didn't feel like they were filling their gaps. The blitzes didn't get them. It just felt clunky to me. Mike says, John, you need moderators in the chat. How in the hell do you make somebody a moderator? I agree with that. I would love to have a couple people I trust moderating the chat so that I don't have to do that and the phones and the chat and the donation and everything else. How in the hell do you do that? I don't even know how to do that. Somebody tell me. How do you add a moderator? I would love to do that just to kind of protect everything, but I don't even know how. What do you hit a button and they're magically a moderator or what? How do they know you're making them a moderator? I've been on YouTube 8 years. I have no idea how that works. Man, you guys are chatty on a Monday morning. Look at this. I got behind. Now I'm trying to catch up. Jeezy Pete's. Look at this $2 holler. Drake Bowen needs to be a 2-sport star next year. Thank you, James, for the donation. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this right now. Drake Bowen is the type of guy that I could see being the ultimate Notre Dame captain. Like, he screams to me. Every single thing about him screams to me, future Notre Dame captain. Local guy, okay? Local Indiana guy. Linebacker, I like that. Chris W., that would never happen for a million reasons. It would never happen. From me to him, him to me, that will just never be a thing that takes place both ways. And we're both fine with that. But I don't think that day will ever come. And it's just kind of understood by both. And it's fine. But I get why you asked. It's been asked a million times. That's the answer. Drake Bowen, back to that. I just think he's grindy. He's linebackery. He's Indiana-ish. The guy was making plays hurt last year. He was all grass stained up and muddy and padded up and wrapped up, and he was out there making plays, the leader of his team. That guy is a future captain of Notre Dame football. And I can't wait to see it. I really can't. What? People are saying the wrench is the moderator? What does that mean? When I click on your name, it says put the user in timeout or whatever. Where is this? Settings? I'll have to look. Yeah, his senior season was great. That's a guy that's a leader. That's a guy that's a leader. And I want to see him develop at Notre Dame. I really do. All right, folks, that's going to be it. 2 hours went by fast. That is going to be it. Yeah. And then they drop his ranking by 100 spots because he committed to Notre Dame. That's the other end of that. Yeah. Thanks, Jay. Jay, I'll look at that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Pat's asking, are you doing another Saturday night show? Pat, we could go Saturday Night Live this Saturday if you want to join. We can make that a thing. So, Pat, let me know if you want to do it. We could do the Saturday night again. I was planning on maybe making that a regular thing most of the summer anyways. All right, folks. We were really chatty today. You guys had a lot to say in the type-in chat. I love it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for donating. Thank you for calling. Even the guy that fell asleep on the line, I appreciate it. I'm going to have a short that will come out tonight. I'll drop that later for your personal entertainment. And then tomorrow morning, I'll have a video posting around 9 a.m. Another short tomorrow night. Wednesday morning, we'll be back at it. Thanks for being here. Everybody have a good Monday. Love this show. Thanks for being here, everybody. Love y'all.